Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. I want to kind of level with you, the listener, here during this segment. I consider myself very much like one with all of you that are listening. We're all LSU fans for the most part. We're all Saints fans for the most part. I happen to have this microphone 2 hours a day, and most of you are driving a truck, or you're a CPA or an attorney, or you're a plumber, or whatever the case may be, and you don't work in sports, but you love it. I just happen to work in sports, but we do the same thing on Saturdays. We're living and dying on every pitch, every dribble, every block and tackle. And I am very much in tune with the fan base day to day. I'm interactive on Twitter. I'm very active on the On3 message board. I'm over there on Tiger Droppings. I'm going to go to Rouse's from 3 to 5 today. It'll be the same thing. Like, we're all talking about LSU sports and reacting to things good or bad. And I have my opinions and y'all have yours. And I don't think any are better or worse, but I just consider myself one of the gang here. I just happen to have a louder voice 2 hours a day during the weekdays than you do at your normal job. So in saying that, like, I have been in tune to the reaction over the last 24 hours of the news that LSU is likely not to land one of these big-time defensive tackles in the transfer portal. And most of the reaction has been kind of in lockstep. Most of the reaction is, LSU's cheap. Brian Kelly won't spend the money. Why are we so behind in NIL? They're not spending what they need to. This and then, like, that's generally been the reaction. And I understand where those feelings come from. We now live in an era where you don't talk about athletes getting paid under the table. You just talk about what they can make, and it's a huge recruiting inducement, even though by the letter of the law, it's not supposed to be a huge recruiting inducement. But we all know that it is. And when a player chooses to go somewhere else, the first thing anyone jumps to is, why are we spending the money? And I just want to take a step back and just talk for a second about that reaction. Because I'll just speak from my perspective. I have no earthly idea what a defensive tackle in the spring transfer portal is being offered. Not by Oklahoma, not by Texas, not by LSU, not by Miami, not by Georgia. Like, I have no idea. You could tell me it was $105,000. You could tell me it was $920,000. You could tell me it was $1.5 million. Like, I don't know. The only dollar value I know about, I've told you about a couple times on this show. I'm 100% certain that a college athlete had the opportunity, not in Baton Rouge, to go professional. That athlete was given $1.5 million to stay another year and play. So I know that dollar amount exists, but I don't know how that dollar amount for that student athlete at that school translates to a 2-year defensive tackle transferring and taking offers from other schools, to a 1-year defensive tackle, to a quarterback, like to a point guard. Like, I don't know. And so that's the first part of this. The second part is, how do you know that LSU is unwilling to spend or doesn't have the money, especially if you don't know what the dollar amount is? I just feel like there's so much unknown, and Joe Fan is just very quick to go, well, we just won't spend the money. Maybe. I don't know who's calling that shot. I don't know if it's the boosters. I don't know if it's the collective. I don't know if there's extra money in the collective that they're not willing to spend. I don't know if there's not enough money in the collective. I don't know if it's Brian Kelly acting like the general manager who decides this guy's worth this and this guy's worth that. Don't spend this, don't worth that. I don't know what the inner workings are, and I feel like if I have no idea, it seems a little bit far-fetched that all these fans who follow this with as much passion as I do, and I love that, know exactly what's going on, and then, therefore, what reaction to have to it. I'm just coming to it from a place of a lack of knowledge and uncertainty. And it feels like so many people are so certain they understand the inner workings of this thing. If you start to revenue share and you know how much money's in the coffers, then we can analyze it. I'm very comfortable analyzing what the Saints spend on a linebacker in free agency because I know what the salary cap is, and I know what the contract is, and I know what dead money would be, and I understand how all that works. This is all behind closed doors. How do we know how to react to something that's behind closed doors? And I would suggest it's not that much different in terms of the end result than what we were dealing with 15 years ago. There was always money kind of being passed around here or there, and the reaction was always the same at that point too. It was clearly USC came with the bag. Nope, A&M came with the bag. There's an Alabama Mercedes. That was always the reaction too. And now that it's legal, everyone just seems more sure of themselves. And I'm just sitting here telling you, I don't know. How do I know what Oklahoma offered Damonic Williams? How do I know that LSU knew that? And how do I know why they made their decision? Whether they had the money and didn't feel like it was worth spending, or didn't have the money? And how do I know where the money came from? Maybe the booster said I'm not cutting the check. Maybe Brian Kelly said I'm not cutting the check. I don't know. There's too much uncertainty for me to just run to the keyboard and eviscerate everyone involved when I don't have any information. That's what makes it hard. And for some, they're saying, well, it's ruined college athletics for me. And for some say, well, we got to get the collective in better shape. Some people are yelling about Austin Thomas. Some people are yelling about Brian Kelly. Some people are crying poor. I know this. Oftentimes, when LSU pulls in Bryce Underwood, I hear, man, what a job by Joe Sloan. Incredible work. Fostered that relationship. Awesome job by Brian Kelly. Great job. I haven't seen a lot online when they land Bryce Underwood or DeCorian Moore, everybody going, how about that collective, baby? Drop the bag on them. It just feels like that reaction is more visceral when it doesn't go your way. LSU is doing phenomenally well in the high school recruiting ranks. That's indisputable. In-state, locking up 8 of the top 10 this past year, 9 of the top 10. Already got Harlan Berry in, looking good for next year in-state and out-of-state. With I mentioned DeCorian Moore and Bryce Underwood, clearly something in place is working. It just maybe doesn't work with Simeon Barrow and with TCU's defensive tackle, whose name immediately escapes my mind, even though I've said it twice in this segment. You're just going to win some and lose some. It's just the way recruiting has been and always will be. Nobody's winning them all. And if you lose them all, you're not allowed very much, but LSU is not losing them all. I'm petrified at the state of the defensive tackle room. Petrified. It is a bad spot. And I wish that they had addressed this with one of these guys. But I have a hard time suggesting the entire system is a disaster when they're doing so well in high school recruiting. They've done so well in the state. They have had some hits in the transfer portal. They just really needed to get this addressed, and it hasn't quite happened. And I find that I'm seeing a lot of people whose opinions are no better or worse than mine, but are very strong about things that I feel like most of us don't understand the inner workings of. And that's something that I have a hard time getting on board with. So look, again, I'm not super fired up about it, but I think LSU's going to be okay in this new world of NIL. Now, when we get to revenue sharing, we'll see how that changes things, but right now it feels like LSU is prioritizing high school players, and they're recruiting damn good ones. And the retention rate on those really good high school players is pretty good. There's always going to be a Lance Hurd here or there. That happens at Alabama, happens at Ohio State, happens at Texas, happens at A&M. It's just, I don't know. I'm not as visceral with my reaction as a lot of people seem to be. I don't mean this to come off as preachy. I'm just kind of giving my thoughts on this entire matter. I hope they land a defensive tackle because I'm terrified of where things are. But I don't think the entire system is just shot for LSU football. We'll see. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button. Leave your comments below and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.